There we were, not knowing where we were, and we think that is everybody as snafu'd as we are?
Those were Jack Thornton's thoughts on D-Day after he parachuted into Normandy and landed nowhere near where he should have. Looking for his way, he stumbled upon a farmhouse. A 12-year-old girl pointed to his map, letting him know where he was. It was the town of Appville. All these years, Thornton has remained grateful and curious about where this young friend might be. So for the 40th anniversary of D-Day, he traveled back to Appville to be reunited with the young woman named Genevieve.
She could well have saved our lives. And I'm sure she risked her own well-being in doing it.
And the town of Appville, population 245, is still filled with people whose memories of that war and of the German occupation are still quite vivid. So on the occasion of Thornton's journey back, the mayor of Appville threw a party. It was a special reception honoring the former American parachutist, the man this town has adopted as a symbol of what was good about those horrible years. The townspeople celebrated their enthusiasm for remembering, but most of all, they came here with their children and their grandchildren to celebrate friendship, to say thanks, vive les Américains. And Jack Thornton, their American parachutist, promised to return to Appville to renew this special bond long after this 40th anniversary.
Well, there won't be many of them left to do a big 50, but I'm going to be back here for the 50th. I've been lucky all my life. Somebody took care of me through World War II and a lot of other problems, and I think I'm going to be back for the 50th.
Patty Berman, News 4, Normandy.
When World War II began, I was an 8th grader at St. Mary's School in Miami's Little River section, old enough to be caught up in the daily newspaper and radio reporting on the war. You're looking at posters distributed by the Office of War Information in Washington. I had sent my name to that office and asked to be placed on the regular mailing list for posters. And these are some of the 50 I still have. In the posters, Americans were cautioned to be very careful not to reveal military or defense production secrets to anybody, that there was a spy system at work, and a slip of the lip might sink a ship or be responsible for the loss of American soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen. The Office of War Information invited famous artists to submit watercolor drawings to be used for the posters. As expected, the Germans were depicted as being despicable Nazis, capable of heinous acts in killing our boys who were over there. It was public motivation at its best. The nation banded together to beat the Germans. Production lines hummed day and night with men and women of all ages filling the gap for those at the battlefront. And it was on June 6, 1944, that we saw the beginning of the end. This is Ralph Rennick, News 4.
Hello, buddy, Frank. Well, nice to see you.
Welcome again in Normandy.
Yeah, right. I know what you mean.
It is, in a way, a family reunion. But ancestry doesn't link these people. No, this love affair can instead be traced oddly to destruction, death, and ultimately freedom. The 406th Fighter Bomber Group has returned to Saint-Lô. Until shortly after D-Day, Saint-Lô, like all French towns, was caught in the iron grip of Hitler's tyranny. As the Allies saw things, it had to be destroyed to be saved. The 406 dropped many of the bombs that leveled Saint-Lô 40 years ago. But from the ruins came liberation, and from the liberation comes a lasting regard for the American soldiers.
La France, elle n'oubliera jamais.
France won't ever forget these courageous fighters who came from such a faraway continent to cement the friendship of a great people who love justice and freedom.
The mayor's speech was short, but the reception table wasn't, as the Americans bellied up for the one thing they all seem to remember, Normandy's famous apple cider. As for the hero's welcome,
These people here have got a long memory, and these kids growing up here was 12 and 13 years old, and now they remember us and what we did and everything.
It really makes us feel that they really appreciate what we did for them, and we are glad to do it in the name of democracy.
But for the vets, such gatherings always become bittersweet, as their thoughts turn to buddies gunned down 40 years ago from the then perilous skies above. Jim Banneman, News 4, in Normandy.
I'm Jose Grignon at the Veterans Hospital in Miami, where two veterans remembered D-Day 40 years ago. 73-year-old Michael O'Shaughnessy says he was part of an underwater demolition team which was offshore when the D-Day invasion started. Walter Bradford is also 73 years old and says he was attached to one of the first medical units hitting the shore to treat the thousands of wounded. Because of throat cancer, Bradford now speaks through a speech synthesizer. He told me that the sight on Normandy Beach was gruesome. There were bodies everywhere. The Germans were shooting, and there was no time to be afraid.
Like Mr. Bradford said, you're too darn busy trying to get out of the way to be scared, you know. You're scared, certainly you're scared, but you do what you have to do. What impressed me more than anything else was the Rangers climbing that cliff with the Germans throwing hand grenades and shooting them from above.
Both men give vivid descriptions of that battle of battles 40 years ago, but they also have reservations about remembering D-Day.
It was a horrible experience, I know that. But I'd had some of them before, just like at the other landings, so. But that was I never saw so many men killed in my life as I did that day. And whether it was worth it or not, I don't know.
Although these men remember D-Day as somewhat of a massacre of Allied troops, both are thankful to have survived one of the greatest battles of all time. Jose Grignon, News 4.